The galaxy had ruled itself long before humans ever looked up at the stars. For 10,000 cycles, the Galactic Concord decided who lived, who traded, and who vanished into silence. It was not evil. It was old. And old powers believed age itself was wisdom. The Concord station hung above the gas giant Lurian like a divine crown. Rings of gold metal rotated slowly, each ring belonging to a founding species. Massive energy veins glowed like frozen lightning. Inside the grand chamber, beings of many forms gathered. The Aurelian Synod shimmered in tall crystalline bodies, their thoughts traveling faster than sound. The Velothi choir floated as translucent shapes, communicating through gravity pulses and harmonic echoes. The Kar Dominion stood apart, towering bioengineered war forms, armored in black chitin, weapons grown into their flesh. And at the very edge of the chamber sat the humans. A single curved bench. No glow. No grand design. Just steel. Captain Mara Vance stood behind Earth's delegation, hands clasped behind her back. She wore no decorations beyond a small Earth emblem on her jacket. Her eyes studied everything. The Concord speaker's voice resonated through the chamber. Humanity of Soul 3, the speaker said, tone neutral but distant. Your petition for expanded exploration rights is denied. A human diplomat rose. On what grounds? Insufficient advancement, replied the Aurelian Synod in perfect unison. Insufficient longevity. Insufficient relevance. The Kar War Prime let out a low, grinding laugh. They are prey pretending to be peers, it growled. Their bodies break. Their ships burn. Why are they here at all? Mara felt the familiar heat of anger rise, but she crushed it. Instead she watched. The Velothi choir whispered among themselves, their gravity waves fluttering like nervous breath. They are interesting, one voice sang. But not dangerous. The ruling was final. Humans were granted trade access only. No military expansion. No relic research. No frontier claims. They accepted. That was the first mistake the galaxy made. Because humans did not protest. They did not threaten. They did not beg. They observed. As the chamber emptied, Mara turned to her team. They think we're weak, her first officer, Commander Elias Wren, said quietly. Mara nodded. Good. Weak things get ignored. Outside the station, the UNS Horizon Reach waited. It was small by Concord standards. Angular. Scarred. Efficient. As it pulled away, Mara stared at the stars. Humanity had survived worse than disrespect. 3 months later, the signal appeared. A whisper buried inside cosmic radiation. Repeating. Wrong. Human deep space arrays caught it first, not because they were better, but because humans searched everywhere, even where others thought useless. The signal came from a forbidden zone. Xiphon Reach. A dead region surrounding a black star, quarantined by Concord law. No reason given. No records allowed. Mara read the report in silence. Ancient energy signature, Elias said. Older than the Concord. Matches no known tech. Mara's jaw tightened. Who else saw it? The Aurelians, Elias replied. They marked it restricted. Mara smiled faintly. Prepare the Pathfinder. The UNS Pathfinder was not meant to be heroic. It was a science ship, patched together with modular bays and experimental sensors. Its hull bore the marks of long missions and quick repairs. As it entered Xiphon Reach, stars bent strangely. Light stretched. Instruments screamed warnings. This place hates us, one scientist muttered. Everything hates us, another replied. We keep going anyway. The planet emerged from the darkness, cracked surface, crimson clouds, ancient scars across its crust. They landed near a canyon miles deep. What they found inside changed everything. Ruins. Not broken. Not decayed. Waiting. Stone-like towers covered in symbols that shifted when observed. Floors that responded to footsteps. Walls that pulsed softly like a sleeping heart. At the center lay a buried structure. A massive sphere fused into the planet itself. Power surged when humans approached. Lights ignited. Systems woke. It's reacting to us, a scientist whispered. Not random. Specific. A human placed a hand on the surface. The sphere responded. The ground shook. Above the planet, Concord sensors spiked wildly. Alarms rang across the galaxy. Back at the Concord, panic spread. The relics were sealed for a reason, the Velothi choir sang in alarm. The humans must withdraw, declared the Aurelian Synod. Destroy the site, roared the Kar War Prime. And the humans with it. Mara received the recall order aboard the Horizon Reach. She stared at the message. Then she deleted it. Instead, she sent one transmission, to Earth. Ancient relic activated. Responds to humans only. Concord hostile. Earth replied after 6 minutes. One sentence. Proceed at your discretion. Mara exhaled slowly. So, Elias said, we're doing this? Yes, Mara replied. We didn't come this far to stop now. The relic engine beneath Xiphon awakened fully. Symbols aligned. Energy flowed. A star map appeared, vast, impossible, stretching beyond known space. Paths glowed. Gateways. The galaxy had hidden its oldest secrets, and humans had unlocked them by accident. Or perhaps, by design. Above Xiphon, car warships began to arrive. The quiet species had been noticed, and the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The first car warship tore out of hyperspace like a wound in reality. It was enormous, longer than most human cities, its hull grown from layered black chitin and bone metal ribs. Bioluminescent veins pulsed along its surface, carrying nutrients and power to living weapons embedded across its flanks. Then another arrived. And another. Within minutes, an entire Car Dominion vanguard surrounded Xiphon. On the bridge of the UNS Horizon Reach, red warning lights bathed Captain Mara Vance's face. They're not posturing, Commander Elias Rin said. This is an execution fleet. Mara didn't look away from the tactical display. Of course it is. Giants don't threaten ants. They crush them. Orders from Earth? Elias asked. Mara shook her head. No time. We improvise. The human fleet near Xiphon was small, 6 vessels total. A mix of science ships, escorts, and one aging destroyer. Against a Dominion force built to erase civilizations, it was laughable. The Car War Prime broadcast on all frequencies. Humans, it thundered, voice layered with subharmonic rage. You stand upon forbidden ground. Surrender the relic and your extinction will be swift. Mara keyed the channel. No, she said simply. Silence followed. Then laughter. The War Prime's mandibles clicked. You mistake permission for power. The car opened fire. Space ignited. Bioplasma lances screamed across the void, slamming into the outer defensive screen of the Horizon Reach. The shield flared, overloaded, and collapsed in seconds. Shields down, someone shouted. Evasive pattern Delta. Mara ordered. Break formation. Human ships scattered, not in clean lines or elegant arcs, but in erratic, almost chaotic vectors. To car sensors it looked like panic. It was not. Human pilots cut engines at random intervals, dumped debris and altered heat signatures mid-flight. Car targeting algorithms, built to predict orderly foes, struggled to adapt. They're dispersing, a car tactical node hissed in confusion. They flee, another replied. Hunt them. The car fleet split. That was the second mistake. Human ships ducked behind asteroids, skimmed radiation currents, and hid inside the gravitational distortions near the Black Star. One science vessel overloaded its reactor on purpose, detonating near a car cruiser. The explosion didn't destroy the enemy ship, but it blinded it. Human torpedoes followed. For the first time in centuries, a car vessel died to a species considered beneath notice. On the surface of Xiphon's relic world, the ancient structure continued to awaken. Human scientists worked feverishly as symbols rearranged themselves. It's responding faster now, Dr. Lena Okafor said, eyes wide. As if it knows we're under threat. Or testing us, another whispered. Deep within the relic, a chamber opened that had been sealed for ages. Inside was no weapon. It was a translator. A system designed to bridge minds across species and time. Human neural patterns synced with it effortlessly. This shouldn't be possible, Lena breathed. Our brains are messy. The relic pulsed brighter. Messy, it seemed, was exactly the point. Back in Concord space, chaos erupted. Emergency councils were called. Trade lanes froze. Old alliances strained. The humans have violated relic law, the Aurelian Synod declared. They must be restrained. The Velothi choir wavered. They did not seize the relic by force, the choir sang. The relic accepted them. That is irrelevant, replied the Synod. If they control first-age technology, balance collapses. The Car Dominion sent a single message. We will solve this. At Xiphon, the car adapted. Their ships began altering formation, learning from human chaos. Enemies adjusting, Elias warned. Mara nodded. They would. They always do. She opened a secure channel. All human vessels initiate Phase 2. What's Phase 2? A pilot asked. Mara's voice was calm. Share everything. Human ships opened their data streams, sensor readings, weapon telemetry, damage reports, broadcast openly across the fleet. No encryption. No hierarchy. Each ship became smarter with every second. Damage learned on one hull was avoided on another. Car attacks grew less effective by the minute. This is inefficient, a car node snarled. Why do they expose their weaknesses? Because humans believed survival was a group effort. Then the boarding pods came. Living missiles slammed into the hull of the UNS Ardent, cracking it open. Car soldiers poured inside, towering, clawed, bred for war. They expected screaming prey. They found traps. Corridors vented atmosphere suddenly, ripping car warriors into space. Bulkheads slammed shut, isolating enemies. Human marines struck from darkness, using explosives, fire, and teamwork. The car won most engagements. But every meter cost them. This species resists extinction, a car commander reported, confused. They fight even when broken. Above the planet, the relic engine surged again. A projection burst into space, a star map layered with glowing nodes. Gateways. Ancient, dormant pathways scattered across the galaxy. Every Concord sensor lit up. The Velothi choir went silent. The Aurelian Synod recoiled. The car warprime froze. Only humans could see the pathways clearly. Only humans could activate them. This changes precedence, the Aurelian speaker whispered. On the bridge of the Horizon Reach, Mara watched the map unfold. We're not strong, she said quietly. Elias looked at her. Then what are we? Mara smiled, grim and steady. We're compatible. The giants of the galaxy had stirred. And they were beginning to realize that the smallest species had touched the oldest fire. The relic did not speak with sound. It spoke with memory. When the translators fully activated, human minds were pulled into a shared vision. One so vast that several scientists collapsed, overwhelmed. But most endured. Some screamed. Others wept. Captain Mara Vance stood still as the universe unfolded inside her thoughts. Stars were born and died in seconds. Civilizations rose like sparks and vanished just as quickly. Shapes moved between galaxies, building things that bent reality as easily as humans bent metal. This was the first age. Before the Concorde. Before the car. Before history itself. These are not gods, Dr. Lena Okafor whispered, tears streaming down her face. They're engineers. The relic showed them the truth. The first age species had been powerful beyond measure, but fragile in one fatal way. They were perfect. Too perfect. Their societies depended on stability, control, and predictability. When chaos came, cosmic disasters, internal collapse, unforeseen variables, they could not adapt. So they vanished. Before doing so, they built the relics. Not as weapons. As tests. The relic's voice finally formed into meaning. Strength decays. Order breaks. Only those who change endure. The vision shifted. Species after species encountered the relics over millions of years. The Aurelians, too rigid. The Velothi, too collective. The car, too singular in purpose. All failed. Then came humanity. Short-lived. Divided. Chaotic. Emotional. And endlessly adaptable. You survive extinction events, the relic echoed. You rebuild from ashes. You turn failure into knowledge. The relic accepted them. Back in real space, the consequences were immediate. The gateways activated one by one. Not fully open, but awake. Human ships felt it first. Their systems synced naturally with the ancient tech, as if it had been waiting for minds that thought in probability instead of certainty. On Earth, the Emergency World Council assembled. Leaders argued for 11 minutes. Military commanders warned of escalation. Economists feared collapse. Philosophers questioned whether humanity should accept such power. Then a civilian representative spoke. If we refuse, she said, someone else will try to take it. And they won't hesitate. The decision was unanimous. Accept the test. Earth transmitted its answer. The relic responded. The first gateway opened near Xiphon. Space folded like paper. A human fleet appeared on the other side. Ships that had taken months to arrive now crossed the galaxy in seconds. The Concorde reeled. They have broken distance, the Aurelian Synod whispered. They have rewritten war, sang the Velothi choir. The Car Dominion reacted instantly. They launched assaults across multiple systems, hoping to overwhelm humanity before it could stabilize the gateways. They failed. Because humans did not use the gateways to conquer. They used them to respond. A car invasion of a neutral world was intercepted mid-bombardment by human ships appearing without warning. A collapsing star threatening a Concord trade hub was stabilized using relic energy combined with human engineering. Entire refugee populations were evacuated in hours. The galaxy watched in disbelief. They could take everything, a Velothi elder sang. Why do they not? Mara Vance answered during a live transmission. Because power without restraint is how civilizations die. The Car War Prime could not understand this. Dominance and used as weakness, it roared to its generals. Humans hesitate. Strike their home. The largest car armada ever assembled turned toward Sol. Living ships packed with billions of soldiers. Enough force to erase Earth from history. Humanity prepared. Earth's orbit filled with defensive platforms, human-built but relic-enhanced. Shields adapted in real time. Weapons learned from every simulation, every failure. For the first time humans were not reacting. They were ready. The battle above Sol burned like myth. Car plasma tore through space, but human shields shifted frequencies mid-impact. Missiles that should have failed adjusted course in flight. AI systems collaborated with human intuition, creating strategies no single mind could predict. The car pushed forward anyway. They always did. Boarding actions erupted across orbital stations. Inside one station, a human marine dragged a wounded alien civilian into cover. Why help us? The alien cried. The marine answered between breaths, because someone once helped us. That moment was recorded. It spread across the galaxy. At the edge of the battlefield, the relic engines flared. The first age system synchronized fully with human command. Mara stood aboard the UNS Horizon Reach, watching car ships freeze in mid-attack as gravity fields twisted around them. The War Prime screamed across all channels. You were insignificant. Mara responded calmly. So were we. For a long time. The human fleet did not annihilate the Armada. They disabled it. Power cores neutralized. Command nodes severed. Soldiers left alive, drifting, defeated but spared. The car had never experienced mercy. It terrified them. Back in Concord space, panic turned into reckoning. The Aurelians attempted to convene an emergency decree to limit humanity. The Velothi refused. The test has chosen, the choir sang. Interference is folly. The Concord fractured along ancient fault lines. And in that fracture, a truth became clear. Humanity was no longer a minor species. They were no longer students of the galaxy. They were participants in its fate. And the relics, the oldest judges in existence, had rendered their verdict. The first age had fallen because it could not change. Humanity rose because change was its nature. The war was far from over. But the galaxy now understood something it had never imagined. The quiet species had passed the test. And the age of underestimation was ending. The galaxy would remember Xiphon not for its black star, nor for the ancient ruins buried beneath red stone, but for the moment when certainty died. The Car Dominion did not accept defeat. They never had. What remained of their empire gathered at Xiphon Reach, drawn by rage, doctrine, and instinct. Every brood fleet. Every war vat ship. Every living weapon ever grown. It was not an invasion. It was extermination. Across the void, space warped as thousands of car vessels emerged. Their collective mass bent gravity itself. Their hulls pulsed with feeding cycles, soldiers growing even as they advanced. On the opposite side, the human fleet assembled. It was smaller. But it was different. Ships of every design floated in disciplined disorder. Old hulls refitted with relic interfaces. Civilian craft converted into mobile hospitals and logistics hubs. Drones swarmed like schools of fish, relaying data instantly. At the center was the UNS Horizon Reach. Captain Mara Vance stood on the bridge, hands steady on the railing. All units, she said calmly, this is it. Remember the plan. Trust each other. 1,000 human voices answered. We're with you. The Car War Prime appeared on all channels. Its image towered, mandibles spread, armored crest glowing with battle pheromones. Humans, it roared. You defy extinction. You defile the first age. This ends now. Mara met its gaze. You came to destroy us, she said. You'll leave remembering us. The car fired. The void became fire. Bioplasma storms rolled forward, tearing apart space itself. Human shields flared, adapted, and reshaped mid-impact. Some failed. Ships died. People died. Humanity did not break. Phase 1, Mara ordered. The relic gateways flared. Human ships vanished and reappeared across the battlefield in impossible patterns. Supply ships materialized behind car lines and detonated, collapsing energy distribution. Strike wings hit command vessels and vanished before retaliation. The car adapted quickly. They always did. Living hulls thickened. Weapon growth accelerated. New tactics spread through the swarm. Enemy learning rate increasing, Elias warned. Mara nodded. Then we accelerate faster. Phase 2 began. Human ships stopped fighting as individuals. They fought as a network. Every sensor feed, every pilot's instinct, every failure was shared instantly. Decisions were made collectively, not by rank but by relevance. A damaged frigate rerouted power based on data from a destroyer light years away. A drone swarm sacrificed itself to reveal a weakness in car armor, and that knowledge spread in seconds. The car began to falter. They had never faced an enemy that grew smarter while bleeding. Then came the shock. From the Black Star's shadow, something massive emerged. The car apex vessel. A living dreadnought the size of a moon. Its presence silenced sensors. Gravity bent toward it like fear made physical. The Warprime's voice thundered. Behold perfection. The apex vessel fired. A beam of compressed stellar matter tore through human lines, annihilating 3 ships instantly. For the first time, fear rippled through the human fleet. Mara closed her eyes for half a second. Then opened them. Phase 3, she said. Deep beneath Xiphon's surface, the relic engine responded. It had been waiting. Space around the apex vessel twisted. Not violently. Precisely. Gravity loops formed, folding time and motion into controlled knots. The massive dreadnought slowed, then froze, caught between instants, unable to move forward or backward. The car howled in disbelief. This cannot be, the Warprime screamed. No species commands first-age forces. Mara's voice cut through the chaos. We don't command it, she said. We work with it. Human ships focused fire on immobilized targets. Not to destroy but to disable. Weapon nodes. Command synapses. Control centers. The apex vessel shuddered, then went dark. The car fleet hesitated. That hesitation killed them. Human strike groups exploited it instantly. Gateway jumps severed retreat paths. Precision strikes disabled engines across entire squadrons. The battlefield turned. The Warprime launched a final gambit. Boarding swarms targeted the relic site itself. If humans lost the relic, everything ended. On the surface, human soldiers and scientists stood together in the ancient halls. Civilians carried weapons. Soldiers guarded data cores. Car warriors poured in. The fighting was brutal. Close. Personal. Humans fell. But they did not retreat. Dr. Lena Okafor triggered a manual overload that sealed a chamber, trapping herself and dozens of car inside. Her final words echoed through the comms. Make it worth it. The chamber collapsed. The relic core stabilized. Above Xiphon, the Warprime realized the truth. This battle was lost. This species should not exist, it snarled. Mara answered quietly. Neither should extinction as policy. She activated the final protocol. The relic engine released a controlled gravitational pulse that swept the battlefield. Car ships were not destroyed. They were disarmed. Weapons dead. Propulsion locked. Communications severed. In minutes, the greatest war fleet in galactic history was helpless. Silence fell. The Warprime's image flickered. We were Apex, it whispered. Mara leaned forward. No, she said. You were dominant. There's a difference. The car surrendered. Across the galaxy, sensors confirmed it. The impossible had happened. The Battle of Xiphon ended not with annihilation, but with restraint. And in that restraint, the galaxy felt something new. Hope. And fear. Because humanity had proven something far more terrifying than raw power. They had proven control. The guns fell silent across known space, but the war did not end. It changed. News of the Battle of Xiphon spread faster than light through rumor, fear, and distorted transmissions. Entire civilizations watched recordings of the car armada frozen and disarmed, not destroyed. For the first time in galactic history, an apex war species had been defeated without extinction. The Concord panicked. Within the Grand Chamber, emergency light patterns flared as delegates assembled. The ancient rings of the station rotated faster, as if the structure itself sensed crisis. The Aurelian Synod spoke first. This outcome is unacceptable, they declared. Humanity now controls first-age systems. Balance is broken. The Velothi choir replied, voices trembling through gravity waves. Balance was already broken, they sang. The car ruled through terror. You allowed it. The car seat was empty. That absence echoed louder than any accusation. Behind closed channels, the Aurelians acted. They had not survived 10,000 cycles by trusting newcomers. Quiet commands spread through Concord infrastructure. Security protocols shifted. Autonomous defense arrays reoriented. Their plan was elegant. Take the relic without war. Remove the humans from the equation. Mara Vance knew it was coming. Human analysts had predicted 73 possible responses from the Concord after Xiphon. This one ranked second. Concord defense systems are reassigning control, Elias reported aboard the Horizon Reach. They're locking us out of relay nodes. Mara nodded. They think this is still their galaxy. She opened a channel, to the entire Concord. You fear us, she said calmly. That's natural. We feared you once too. The Aurelians did not reply. Instead, Concord security fleets moved. They did not fire. They blocked. Massive stations and defense platforms shifted into place, cutting off gateway access to Xiphon. Energy fields surrounded the relic world. Aurelian envoys appeared on screen. For the safety of all, the Synod said, the relic will be secured under Concord authority. Human personnel will withdraw. Mara smiled faintly. You're trying to arrest an idea, she said. It won't work. The Aurelians activated containment protocols. Nothing happened. Confusion rippled through their ranks. The systems are unresponsive, one Synod voice reported. They don't recognize us. The truth was simple. The Concord's ancient infrastructure had always been partially first-age technology, and it recognized humanity. Human fleets did not attack. They isolated. Data floods overwhelmed Concord command channels, not with viruses but with truth. Records of secret decisions. Hidden genocides. Trade manipulations. Evidence of species erased quietly for convenience. The Velothi choir recoiled as memories surfaced. We sang ignorance, they whispered. But we knew. Species across the Concord demanded answers. Protests erupted on a galactic scale. Trade halted. Allegiances shattered. The Concord's power collapsed from within. The Aurelians attempted one final move. They deployed a failsafe, a system designed to collapse all first-age relics into singularities. If they could not control the relics, no one would. The activation signal was sent. The relics did not respond. Instead, the system echoed back a message translated into every known language. Authority revoked. The first-age systems shut the Aurelians out completely. Panic became desperation. This is extinction, the Synod whispered. Mara responded privately. No, she said. This is accountability. A new assembly formed, not in the Concord chamber but across open space. Every species was invited. No hierarchy. No founding ranks. Just voices. The Velothi choir spoke first. We relinquish our seat, they sang. We were guardians who forgot how to listen. Other species followed. Even car representatives, scarred, diminished and silent, appeared. The war prime was gone. Replaced by something uncertain. We submit, the car delegate said slowly. We do not understand mercy. Mara answered, you will. The Concord dissolved without a single shot fired. Its symbols were dismantled. Its rings powered down. In its place rose the Galactic Coalition. Not ruled by age. Not ruled by power. But by responsibility. Humanity did not claim dominance. They claimed duty. Gateways became shared infrastructure. Relics were monitored, not exploited. Defense became collective. Some species resisted. They faded. History moved on without them. On Earth, people watched the stars with a mix of pride and fear. Humanity had stepped into something vast. Mara stood alone in the Horizon Reach's observation deck. Elias joined her. Do you think they'll ever stop being afraid of us? He asked. Mara considered the endless lights beyond the glass. No, she said softly. And maybe they shouldn't. Because fear could become respect. And respect could become peace. The Concord had fallen not because humans were stronger, but because they refused to become what the Concord had been. The galaxy had lost its oldest rulers, and found something far more dangerous. A species that remembered its past, and chose a different future. The galaxy did not change overnight. It hesitated. The fall of the Concord left behind silence where certainty had once lived. Trade routes paused. Fleets remained docked. Species accustomed to being told what to do now had to decide for themselves. Into that silence, humanity stepped carefully. They did not declare an empire. They did not rename the age. They did not crown leaders of the stars. They built systems. The Galactic Coalition began as a simple framework. Shared defense agreements. Open scientific exchange. Conflict mediation councils. No permanent capital. The first coalition meeting was held not on a grand station, but aboard a modest human vessel orbiting a neutral star. Representatives sat in a circle. No elevated seats. No rings of dominance. A Velothi elder sang softly, gravity rippling with emotion. "This feels unsafe," it admitted. "No hierarchy. No ancient law." A human delegate replied, "So does freedom." Humanity's greatest weapon during the following decades was not the relics. It was logistics. Human engineers mapped trade routes that minimized resource waste. Human planners coordinated relief fleets with brutal efficiency. Human diplomats traveled constantly, learning languages, customs, and grievances. Where the Concord had issued decrees, humans asked questions. Where empires enforced silence, humans documented mistakes. Some species found this unbearable. "The humans debate everything," an old Aurelian fragment complained. "They doubt their own decisions." "Yes," a Velothi observer replied. "That is why they survive them." The gateway stabilized. Human scientists, working alongside dozens of species, turned ancient pathways into regulated corridors. Accidents happened. Ships were lost. Every failure was recorded. Every lesson shared. For the first time, galactic travel improved because of mistakes, not despite them. Human children grew up speaking 3 or 4 alien languages. Alien students attended human universities, baffled by concepts like philosophy courses arguing against themselves. "This would be forbidden in our culture," a Velothi student said. "That's why it's required," the professor answered. Mara Vance aged. Slowly by human standards. Rapidly by the galaxy's. She declined political office repeatedly, choosing instead to serve as coalition marshal, a role with no permanent authority, only responsibility during crises. Her hair grayed. Her voice softened. Her eyes remained sharp. She spent more time listening than commanding. Not all threats were gone. Ancient automated fleets drifted from dark space. Pirate coalitions tested the new order. A few Concord-era elites attempted to reclaim influence. Each time humanity responded the same way. Together. Coalition fleets formed seamlessly, guided by shared protocols. Humans rarely led from the front, but they were always present at the point of failure. "Why do you stand where things break?" a car commander once asked Mara. She answered, "Because that's where you learn." The relics slept. Their energy levels faded, systems powering down now that their test was complete. Some humans worried. "What happens when they're gone?" a young officer asked. Mara smiled gently. "Then we'll know if we deserve them." The galaxy began to change its language. Humans were no longer called primitives. They were called anchors. Where humans settled, systems stabilized. Where humans traded, piracy declined. Where humans mediated, wars ended early, not cleanly but survivably. Not because humans were morally superior, but because they remembered being fragile. On a distant world once ravaged by car conquest, a memorial was built. Not a monument to victory. A list of names. Every species lost. Every world scarred. A car child stood before it, mandibles trembling. A human guide knelt beside them. "We did this," the child said. "Yes," the guide replied. "And now we decide what comes next." Decades passed. The Galactic Coalition endured. It argued. It nearly fractured more than once. But it held. Because humanity did not demand obedience. They offered continuity. They stayed when others would have left. Mara Vance stood on Earth one final time, watching the stars without a bridge beneath her feet. A Velothi envoy hovered nearby, older now, its light dimmer. "You never claimed supremacy," it sang. "Yet the galaxy turns around you." Mara chuckled softly. "We learned early that control breaks things." The envoy considered this. "You are not the apex," it said at last. Mara looked at the sky, thinking of ruins and battles and choices. "No," she agreed. "We're the middle." The Velothi tilted, confused. "The middle between what?" Mara smiled. "Between what was, and what survives next." The quiet species had not conquered the galaxy. They had done something far stranger. They had outgrown the need to. And in that restraint, the galaxy found its balance. Uneasy, imperfect, and alive. But the story was not finished. Because the future never was. Not for a species born of change. The galaxy eventually learned a hard truth. Peace is not silence. It is vigilance without hatred. For nearly half a century the Galactic Coalition endured. Trade flowed. Borders softened. Old wounds scarred over, not healed but remembered. Humanity became the constant presence at every fracture point, never owning the stars, yet always standing beneath them. And then the stars screamed. It began beyond the mapped edge of space, where even first-age relics had gone dark. Entire systems vanished. Not destroyed, erased. No radiation. No debris. Just absence. The reports arrived fragmented and terrified. Stars are going out. Reality is thinning. Something is coming. Coalition sensors failed to classify it. The Velothi choir trembled. This is not of the first age, they sang in fear. This is older. Hungrier. The relics did not awaken. They stayed silent. For the first time since Xiphon, humanity stood without ancient guidance. And the galaxy watched to see what they would do. Mara Vance, now old by any measure, stood before the Coalition assembly one final time. Her body was slower. Her voice still steady. "We don't know what this is," she said plainly. "We don't know how to stop it." Unease rippled through the chamber. A car delegate slammed a clawed limb into the floor. "Then we are finished." Mara shook her head. "No," she said. "Then we do what we've always done." She looked around the chamber. "We adapt." The threat revealed itself near a dead galaxy cluster. A vast, shifting void, an intelligence born from collapsed universes, feeding on structure, order, and energy. Where civilizations were rigid, it devoured them easily. Perfect systems collapsed first. Ancient automated empires fell in seconds. The entity advanced toward Coalition space. The relics remained dormant. The First Age had never planned for this. Humanity did not wait for permission. Human scientists proposed something unthinkable. Instead of resisting it, one said, "We confuse it." The plan was madness. They would abandon order. Coalition fleets would fragment into unpredictable swarms. Energy signatures would fluctuate. Gateways would open and close randomly. Entire systems would simulate collapse, then rebuild differently moments later. No central command. No stable pattern. Some species recoiled in horror. "This will shatter us," an Aurelian remnant cried. Mara answered quietly. "Yes, a little. That's the point." The entity arrived. It reached into Coalition space and stalled. Its nature demanded structure to consume, predictability to unravel. Human-led chaos denied it both. Fleets vanished and reappeared. Civilian populations relocated dynamically. Even Coalition laws shifted temporarily, granting local autonomy to increase unpredictability. The galaxy became messy. Alive. The entity faltered. For the first time in its unknowable existence, it encountered resistance not of force, but of change. Mara stood aboard the Horizon Reach one last time as the final phase began. "Do you regret it?" Elias asked her softly. She smiled. "No," she said. "We were never meant to last forever. Just long enough to matter." The final maneuver activated. Humanity opened every gateway at once, not to move ships but to flood the entity with contradictory spacetime data. Billions of variables. Endless adaptations. The entity recoiled. Then it collapsed. Not destroyed. Rendered irrelevant. It drifted away, unable to anchor itself in a reality that refused to stay still. The galaxy was saved. Not by relics. Not by supremacy. But by a species that had never stopped changing. Mara Vance died 3 days later on Earth, beneath a quiet sky. No monument marked her passing. No titles were added to her name. Across the galaxy, ships paused for 1 minute. That was all. Centuries passed. Humanity changed again. They spread less. Built less. Questioned more. Other species rose. New powers formed. Some surpassed humans in technology. Others in strength. And none ruled alone. Because the lesson endured. A Velothi historian summarized it best, long after humanity's golden age had faded. "They were never the strongest," the historian sang to young minds. "They were never the oldest. They were never the most advanced." A student asked, "Then why did they lead?" The historian answered, "Because when the universe tested us, humans did not ask how to win. They asked how to survive together." In the ruins of Xiphon, long buried now, the relic engines finally crumbled into inert stone. Their purpose fulfilled. The test complete. The apex of the galaxy was not a throne. It was a trait. And that trait, adaptability, resilience, choice, spread far beyond humanity. The stars did not belong to humans. but because of them. The stars endured.